How do you make a story go on and on and on? I get this question all the time from my students, and I really want to try answering it. So follow along with me and I'll show you. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with my character's name. I'm going to use something simple just because I'm giving you an example. So I'm going to say Tom. Sorry if your name's Tom. Doesn't mean that you're simple, but I'm just picking one. Okay? Now I need to figure out where my story is taking place. So the first thing I'm going to be keeping track of is my setting. My setting is when and where my story takes place. So I'm going to have my story, let's say, in a kingdom, a poor kingdom at war. Okay. And we're just going to say it's a medieval kingdom. Okay. Now that I need to think about Tom. So this is where Tom lives. Tom is living in a poor kingdom. Now I need to think about his goal. What is Tom's goal? What does Tom want? Okay. Now Tom has a little brother, and Tom maybe is an orphan. So I'm going to say that Tom wants to feed and keep his brother safe. Okay, it's a good goal. Okay, it's going to make the reader feel something for Tom right away. Okay, now then we need to establish a problem. And we can probably already see some of the problems that are growing from here because he's in a poor kingdom at war and then he wants to keep his brother safe and feed him. So probably there's not a lot of food. But we're going to give some problems here for Tom, just to be explicit, so we know exactly what his issues are. First thing is Tom has no money. Okay, that's a big problem. If he wants to be able to feed his brother, he needs money. And then, we're going to make this even more interesting, though, because he's in a poor kingdom at war. And what if we also have another problem? What if the king is evil? And this evil king who wants to win this war has been making child sacrifices. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so we can see maybe the king's thinking here. His kingdom's at war, his kingdom's poor, so he's now getting desperate and trying to appeasing the gods by making child sacrifices. Hopefully they can win the war. But then that connects to Tom because Tom wants to be able to feed and keep his brother safe, and that goes directly in conflict with what's established in the setting and with the king. Now then, let's just start the book. Let's think about what happens at the beginning of the book. So we're thinking chapter 1. Let's say Tom goes to the market. And maybe he's going to the market, hoping to scrounge up some coins, find something, but then a rich noble walks through the market, and the rich noble is carrying like a talisman or something that would be worth just so much money. It would be so much money that Tom and his brother could escape this kingdom, get away from the child sacrifices, and get away from it all. So Tom makes a decision. It's a great idea to give your character a decision early on in the story, and a decision that has ramifications on the rest of the plot. Tom tries to steal from the noble. Okay. Now, we could have a couple avenues that happen here from his decision. Maybe he's successful and he's on the run. But let's say he's not successful. I'm going to write, but he gets caught. Now, as a storyteller, I have a decision. Do I maybe have the noble like is a compassionate person and then brings him under his wing kind of thing? But I'm not going to go with it. This story seems kind of dark, and I want to lean into the darkness. So I'm going to say that the noble has him thrown into prison, thrown into a dungeon. Has Tom thrown into prison or the dungeon? Okay. So who is going to take care of Tom's brother? Okay. I have lots of places I can take this story from here. So Tom, I could say Tom, I could write him down. It's 1, 2, 3. Tom has to escape, but there's going to be consequences to him escaping. Okay, if he does escape, are people going to be coming after him? Does he and his brother have to leave the kingdom? Maybe if they leave the kingdom, it's really dangerous outside of the city walls. I don't know. We'd have to explore that. 2, what if Tom makes a deal with the guard? What kind of deal could he make? Maybe he's going to work for the guard, or more likely, maybe he says, I'll join the war. But if he goes and joins the war, then who is going to take care of Tom's brother? Or what if instead of this, Tom, like, I mean, it could be simple as he serves out his sentence and it's really boring. Or what if Tom loses a hand for stealing? Interesting thought. And that's going to change your story. There's lots of decisions that go into making a story. Just think and don't resolve things right away. Each of these things are going to have book-wide consequences. If he's off fighting in a war, who's taking care of his brother? And now he's off fighting the war, maybe suddenly has a vested interest in the war. If he loses a hand, is that going to affect somebody like him? Maybe he's a pickpocket and now he only has one hand and pickpocketing was the only thing he knew. So what does he have to do now to get his brother fed, to keep him safe? And then the escaping consequences, that could be a whole book of him, him and his brother trying to get away. Don't be afraid to let yourself explore your story and take it the way that sounds most interesting, that makes you excited to want to keep writing. That's usually what I do. Sometimes I'll write one path and I'll be, I don't really like that path. And so then I change it. Or I'll be writing for 3 or 4 chapters and I don't realize that I took the wrong turn and I have to actually go back. That's actually where my writer block happens usually. It's when I've written myself into a corner that I don't like, so I have to go backward and actually change something and then keep going on with the story. Follow for more.